Welcome back, scoundrels, to Horror in the Hills. I almost said something way wrong. I'm Bran,
I'm Lynn.
and this is movie/book, because we're not really doing a versus. Today we are talking about Psycho, as written by Robert Bloch, I believe is how you pronounce it. And the movie directed by Alfred Hitchcock. But first, if you're on a podcast, rate and review, get the names out there. Also, thank you to everybody who has been subscribing on any of the platforms. It's been nice seeing those numbers slowly tick up, and fairly steadily. We're up to 24 subscribers on YouTube as of recording this, and the podcast one fluctuates. I don't know what's going on there. It's through Anchor. Anyways, yeah, before I prattle on too much more further.
Anyway,
Anywho's,
Norman Bates loves his mother. The trouble is, she's been dead for the past 20 years, or so people think.
Boiler.
Right? Norman knows better, though. Ever since leaving the hospital, he has lived with Mother in the old house up on the hill above the Bates Motel. One night, a beautiful woman checks into the motel, and Norman spies on her while she is undressing. Mother is watching him, though. She is there to protect Norman from his filthy thoughts. She is there to protect him with her butcher knife. Wow, I'm glad I didn't read the back of the book.
Right?
Spoiler.
I am totally unprepared for this. I forgot how we do this. It's been a while.
Apparently we do it by just diving right in after you ramble forever.
Alright, so synopsis as per IMDb, because I don't remember where I normally get these things from.
Your butt.
Nowhere and everywhere, because it's all been interesting. Anyways, a Phoenix secretary embezzles $40,000 from her employer's client, goes on the run, and checks into a remote hotel run by a young man under the domination of his mother. Oh yeah, that's how you get to that. We sound so professional. I sound like professional? Whatever. Anyways, so that's the basis. Tell me, dear, how did it make you feel?
God, I really can't remember.
Yeah, this might not be... I don't think it's going to be a bad episode, but it's definitely going to be a bit detached because we forgot to record after somebody read the book.
I mean, I was surprised by a few things, knowing nothing about it going in.
Yeah, but in regards to a horror type thing...
Yeah, it was creepy. Because Norman is creepy.
Norman is creepy. I will agree with you there.
Oh no, I do remember saying this was one of the scarier, actual scarier ones that you've made me read.
Yeah, the whole thing, or just
the whole
one
thing.
Particular part.
The whole thing. Unlike It and Stepford Wives and the other ones, this one was actually
written
scary.
Decently, though.
It was.
Maybe that's part of it, because this Hill House got to you a little bit too, didn't it?
Yes. I loved Hill House.
As for me with the movie, I don't know, because I know Hitchcock's considered one of the greats, and I'm not going to try to dispute that at all, especially not right now or here. But, it's, I don't know, it felt more like a crime thriller, maybe. It's more of a crime drama. So, like, movie-wise, I would definitely say, I think there's a discussion that could happen on if this is horror or not.
I could see how it's a crime drama. The book also has a crime drama feely about it.
Going into the spoiler areas, just dive right in because that's what we do. If you remove the actual murder, like she grabs the money and just goes, and then you pick up a couple weeks later or whatever, and her sister and lover and the PI are trying to find her, it's just a crime drama.
Yeah, I mean, because it is good and does, in the creepiness of the inner thoughts of Norman are what makes it creepy, scary.
Yeah.
But other than that, the only actual thrilling part is at the end when they're...
He's so confused.
When they're all up at the Bates house. Because other than that, it's just Norman hiding bodies. It's definitely, I see your crime drama angle there.
Yeah. The comment about he's so confused, our cat is here wondering what is going on. Because we're recording in a different position than normal. We have a brand new microphone. It sounds smooth. Anyways, nice, odd little tangent there. Because of the movie format, you definitely don't get the inner workings of Norman. You get a sense of creepiness from him, but mostly I just felt bad for him. Like, you can tell there's a lot of abuse there, and tell how deeply it's affected him and such things.
Yeah, you get a lot. Well, I haven't seen the movie, so I imagine you get a lot more of it in the book, because you get a lot of his things his mother used to get on him for, and his thoughts, and how women are bitches.
Yeah, you definitely... Which, thinking about it, is kind of weird, because they do the inner thoughts of, God, I just watched it last night, and I don't remember her name. Marion?
Mary?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah, Marion. Marion Crane. Because you do get some of her inner thoughts and workings in the first part. But yeah, I mean, it just really didn't do a whole lot for me as far as the horror side.
Poor Mary.
Moving on.
Sure, yeah, moving on.
Were the portrayals of the characters realistic to the setting?
I mean, I think so. Mary, for the short while she was in it, I think was portrayed well. She, stole that money spur of the moment, and by the time she got to the hotel and the adrenaline from it was off, she was ready to, return it before she got, axed.
Yeah.
And I think that was pretty realistic. I mean, we don't get a lot of background on her sister, but from Mary's thoughts about her sister, I think the sister is a little... Because she's very super, we gotta find out what happened to my sister, but in the beginning when...
Overbearing? Is that the word you're kind of searching for?
No.
No? Okay.
Pushy? Because she's pushing Sam and the detective, and she's upset that no one's caring or worrying, and I didn't get the impression that she had that kind of relationship with her sister from Mary's internal thoughts about her relationship with her sister. But again, that's Mary's point of view, so... And she's kind of a weird one.
Who?
Mary.
I don't know. Maybe different reading from Hitchcock on things, or whoever wrote. Mary doesn't seem that too weird to me, because we just pick up kind of in that moment. We get enough of her and Sam's relationship background and conversation at the very beginning. It's how the movie opens.
Well, she's not weird in a Phoebe from Friends weird kind of way. She's socially awkward and has kind of the things that go with that.
Was it a normal social awkwardness, or is it because of the situation she's put herself in?
A normal social awkwardness, because her the glimpses of her relationship with Sam before she does it and her relationship with her sister before she does it, she's kind of like the weird person in the office you don't really want to talk to.
Because you really don't get that in the movie. She very straightforward. She knows what she wants. She's very direct with Sam. That she doesn't care about anything. She just wants to be with him. And he's worried that she won't be taken care of properly, so he wants to get his debts and everything paid off first. And then the opportunity presents itself. You got this $40,000 in cash. Her sister's gone for the weekend. There's nobody to bother her. She can just disappear. And she just takes advantage of that opportunity when it presents itself and gets caught up in it. And that's, she is very awkward in the movie, but it's after that moment and outside of the situation with Joe, the rich guy who brings the cash in. But we're going to take a moment to talk about something here else, too, real quick. God, my words are so awesome. Her sister, I said, we don't really get any background with her in the movie either. So, she just comes on and she's kind of the driving force for everything, but Sam's very involved in it too once he figures out what's going on. And the PI is just doing his job.
Yeah.
Norman, we kind of talked about it already. The elements that lead him to where he's at are very present. But we've already touched on this outside of talking about it now. The cop scene. So,
what cop scene?
This is where I think Marianne her character gets thrown completely off track, and it's just really weird. In the movie, she's driving and starts falling asleep, pulls over on the side of the road. 1960, 1959 seems not relatively normal, but not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And sleeps through the night, and then a cop wakes her, sees her car, backs up, and then wakes her up. And she's, I didn't mean to sleep. I need to get on the going road. And the police officer is just very suspicious of her for some reason. There's no reason to be that he's aware of. It's the next morning. Nobody knows she's gone.
Right.
And he I need to check your license. And mind you, she starts acting a little suspicious here because she's got the money in her purse. She's trying to hide her purse and pull out her ID. And then and she drives off, and he follows her for a while, then pulls off. Then she goes to get a car, trade out her car. And the cop, even though he turned off another time, this is my biggest problem with this movie too, because it's just so out of nowhere. Even though he turned off and went a different way, happens to know where she went. Shows up across the street, and she continues on with buying this different car, even though, which, I mean, mind you, you're in that situation now and you're kind of stuck and you have to buy this new car.
Yeah.
Because you're already at this car dealership working it. But it's just weird. And, that's all there is to it. It seems like something that was thrown in there for tension that didn't need to be there.
Well, it was definitely thrown in because it wasn't in the book.
Does she even trade her car in or anything?
She does. 2-3 times.
No, she only gets one in the movie.
I think she gets 2 different cars.
Which, I mean, that makes sense, but in the movie, it throws everything out. And maybe it's there to also show how much of an irrational decision this is for her. And because she's so out of tune with herself in the moment, She's not thinking.
I don't know. I think it
through.
showed a great presence of mind for someone who is spur of the moment, stealing $40,000 to think, man, I better trade my car in and then trade it in again and drive past where I'm going and then double back.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as in spur of the moment as...
It like, for the movie, it is much more spur of the moment.
Oh, it's spur of the moment in the book, too, but, I mean, she's way too prepared. This is something she's definitely thought about before.
I think she's a pretty well... What the hell?
I don't know.
Well, it's because you didn't actually turn it off. You just told it not to show a picture. Technical difficulties, people. Sorry.
What, do you want a treat?
Anything else for characters? For realisticism and...
Nope, I think I think it's pretty well done.
Alright, anyways, moving on. Is the setting a characteristic?
I mean, I would assume so. It's on the cover of the book.
I would say so, because you have the house as kind of a backdrop over the hotel.
And his refusal to leave it. I think it's kind of like an anchor point, maybe, for him and his...
It's like it is his whole life too.
Yeah.
But it's almost like the hotel is, what would that be? Like an analogy? I don't think it's quite a metaphor, but it's like the hotel is acting as a stand-in for him, and then the house is the stand-in for his mother, and it's looming over him.
Yeah, I could see that.
And then, especially with the mother being trapped in the house or whatever.
Yeah.
And very much associated with it. And obviously he's got it set up for him to be able to accomplish the things he wants to accomplish. Or whatever.
Being a peeping Tom?
Being a creepy pervert. Anything else?
No.
I suppose we could save that for afterwards. How did you find the pacing?
I felt the pacing was pretty good. Ignore my...
That's just your thought, Bubbles. He likes this.
I know he does.
Do you do it all the time?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, there were moments where I was like, just get on with it. But that's probably just down to my preferred genre of books, this not being one.
Yeah. The movie for itself was decently paced, I suppose. And I didn't really have any moments where I was like, oh my god, come on, hurry up. And that's not too bad of a thing for a 2-hour-long movie. Oh god. Don't tap on my thing. Yeah, it's a 2-hour-long movie. I really didn't have any moments where I was like, oh, come on, hurry up, get through this. There's a nice long conversation between her and Norman when she first arrives at the motel. And they're having dinner.
Honestly, the most hurry-up moments, I thought, were between Sam and Mary's sister, whose name I cannot remember. Lila, sure, why not?
That is in the movie.
Some of the conversations and the moments between them I felt were just a little long. It is Lila. And it's just like, okay, moving on.
Yeah, you don't have any of that in the movie. Really, like, most of their conversations are business associated to finding Marion, and that's really it. Because there's 30, 40 minutes into the movie. I'm going to take that back a little bit. There are a couple times around Marion's death, because it's like real time following him cleaning up his mess. Well, his mother's mess.
Yeah.
And Then when he drives the car into the swamp,
You spend too long sitting there watching it sink?
Yeah.
I at least get an internal monologue during the sinking of the car.
And like that, again, they do that in the beginning of the movie with Marion as she's driving. Because she's starts thinking about her conversation that she's going to have with Sam. Then after she sees her boss, she starts thinking about what things are going to be like on Monday. And that's probably when her conscience starts to kick in a little bit.
Yeah. When that adrenaline high wears off.
Yeah. But, like, it would have been nice to get a little bit from Norman. Especially, like, Anthony Perkins is pretty decent enough as an actor. So, what do you pick up on philosophy or meaning or themes or anything in the story? This is where I have notes.
Then you can go first, because the only note I took is about nails.
Nails?
Yeah, it's completely irrelevant to the story.
I did pick up on that too. Firstly, I want to say I think this movie's acting more as an exploration of psychological issues.
Yeah.
And psychology, because it was 1959, so like we had been trying to understand psychology for a while at that point. And when was Freud? The late 1800s?
Sure.
So I mean, about 50 years at least, maybe a little bit more.
Yeah.
And especially with some of this stuff, I think it was a little bit newer at the time. I don't know. I probably should have looked into it a little bit, maybe.
Probably.
That thought didn't occur to me. But I think it is trying to comment more on the psychology of things than it is any actual themes within itself. But I do have... I commented already the abuse aspect, which again plays into the psychology. Because when you first meet him, you can definitely tell that there are psychological tics that he has from his abuse, or subconscious tics or whatever.
Yeah.
Trying to just like the way he holds himself and his uncertainty in certain things, and sometimes when he gets caught in stuff, he starts fumbling and fiddling a bit, and quite a bit.
Yeah. Waiting for that reprimand?
Yeah. Just, he knows he's caught, and it's just, well, I'm already down this path. Might as well go, because it's not going to change the punishment any. And then, obviously, the end part, which I think maybe we'll talk about on its own, because I think there's some deviation there.
Sure.
Not that that's normally what we do, but I think that'll be a nice little bit of conversation there. The other thing that I picked up on watching it last night, so I think sexuality's a big theme in this too, for many reasons. Because when you pick up the story, it's post-coital session is the implication between Sam and Marion. And they're in a motel room, and it has to be hidden away, like they have to hide their relationship for some reason. Like it's, I don't know if it's Sam. I think it's Sam mostly that's like, we can't be seen together, even though we, the audience, are privy to what's happening. And then, obviously Norman's connections with sexuality and his frustrations and struggles with it.
Yeah.
How did I word things? The drive to repress it. And how it's a very natural animalistic instinct for us. But we do have this drive to repress it for some reason, and probably do with trying to repress our animal nature a little bit, and not... It can cause harm in people to repress these emotions, but I think it's more a lack of understanding why we're repressing it rather than the actual repression itself.
Yeah.
On a very low-level observance part. I'm trying to think of some other examples for the sexuality theme.
I would just think Norman's mom and the guy she was with when Norman killed them.
A little bit of an Oedipus complex, maybe?
Yeah.
But even so, when he... Because a lot of his murderiness is driven from his sexual desire for a woman. And then that, again, that drive to repress it. So he probably doesn't know how to express himself properly, probably because of abuse and stuff, and that's why he reverts into his mother.
Because it's dirty. It's what the voice of his mother inside his head always tells him.
Thinking about it, there's a lot of similarities with Norman and Francis from Red Dragon, which you'll find about soon.
Take your word for it.
You'll find out about that soon. Not 100%, like they're rip-offs, but you can see a lot of inspiration there.
I won't see it until June.
Not that far away. Spoilers! What do you have for themes and suchiness? It's fascinating.
I know.
You just completely forget it because it's been a while?
I've read 6 books in between when I read this and and now. So I completely, because I just deleted the information.
You didn't take any notes?
I took notes about nails.
What was the thing with the nails?
The thing with the nails is that we don't really think about them. We think about nails as being trivial, but when you stop and think about it, they're not, because every nail serves a purpose.
Like just all kinds of different nails? Like fingernails and...
No, like nails
and...
holding your house together. Nails.
And
that is the only note I took, and it's completely irrelevant to anything.
Okay, then.
I just liked the thought.
So...
I mean, I suppose in addition to your psychological issues, there's social ones, because I talked about the social recluseness of Mary, and her other issue, too, is that, like, she kind of has a, not codependency, but she needs to be with somebody, and that's why she pushes so hard to be with Sam, even though she just met him randomly on a cruise, and most of their relationship has been through letters.
Yeah.
And Sam's kind of got this push people away thing because he's all like his weak ass debt excuse for everything. And you know,
he's got his divorce and the alimony there, and living under his father's shadow, and
I guess you've got
his own person,
the town sheriff or whatever, who doesn't want to get involved.
Just wants his nice quiet town.
Yes. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't have much to add on to that because, again, I think the characterizations for some of these people are a bit different between the movie and the book. And it's hard to say what the decision was there to do that. But, yeah. And, you know, maybe just because the movie doesn't have the time to explore those as well, even though it very well could have, by cutting out some other things. Come on. This is one. I'm surprised we didn't watch it in my high school Psych 101 class. Because we watched, like, Breakfast Club and stuff like that to, you know, what are the psychological issues that you see in the characters, or, you know, trying to understand their psychological profile.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like good words. Exploring their psychological profiles and stuff. And I don't remember what all movies we watched. I just remember The Breakfast Club because that movie's awesome. But like this would have been a really good one, and that's my favorite part is exploring the character of Norman and picking up on all of his little tics and mannerisms and getting the pieces of his worldview and just dissecting all of that. This is a good movie for character dissection.
Nodding my head.
Nodding my head, too. Would you reread this?
No.
No? Because it's scary?
Because it's one of those things I've read it once. I'm good.
What would you give it a 4, didn't you?
I did give it a 4. I did give it 4 stars.
That's good. I'm going to have to read it one of these days. But I rewatch it. I mean, obviously I've watched it several times. Which, weird, because I didn't actually watch it till, like, for the first time till, like, last year at some point. Whenever I was first thinking about starting this or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, this is one of those ones that's considered this milestone of horror cinema history. And, like, I can see it. It did push a lot of boundaries for its time. And, I was going to talk about that with the themes and stuff, too. And, it's interesting to see the world through this 1960s lens because, with the cash, there's a big deal about them not wanting to take the cash, and I think it's because of the dubious nature of dealing in that large amount of cash. That even in the 60s, when dealing in straight cash was a lot more normal and acceptable.
You mean at the office?
Yes.
Yes. Better to have a bank transfer.
Which, having that paper trail, and I can understand that, and the movie doesn't have to say that, but I don't think it's something that a lot of people would have necessarily picked up on. Like, even, watching, like, a younger person in their 20s, maybe. It's just something I don't think would register to them in the same way that I would pick up on it.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm not trying to impose any hubris there. It's just, I do look at things a little bit differently than most people. And there's a lot of different things. Like, there's something with the cop scene. What was it? That I was looking, or that with today's modern sensibilities, even looking on this snapshot of 1959 America in California, the interaction with the cop just seemed so on point with how they interact with us now, even though that not even close to, like, the war on drugs hadn't really started yet, because Nixon kicked that off, and he was, 1964?
I don't know.
Because he was after JFK, who was 60, right? Ugh.
American history isn't my history.
But it's still, you should know some things.
I don't know American history.
But, you didn't have the war on drugs then, you didn't have, it, from other things that we see.
No more.
Oh, I suppose when you consider the mafia and stuff, it's not that unusual. It's just his hyper suspicion, I guess, for no reason, made me think of how policing is done in America today, where when they're pulling you over, it's not just for a speeding ticket. They're trying to find every little thing they can hit you on. Were you on your phone? Do you have drugs? Were you drinking? All these things that they can check boxes for and get more money for. So, before we get into these last little couple bits, did this pass?
Yeah. I feel like we were able to hold an adequate discussion. I mean, the only difference being that scene you keep harping on.
I didn't harp on it that much.
Yeah, now you didn't harp on it.
For all intents and purposes, I'd give this a pass. Like, just a pass. Like, a D. But, because there was... I feel like we did do a lot more comparing. I don't know, because I always talk the movie this and the movie that. I need to stop doing that.
Honestly, it probably would have failed had we recorded it right after I finished reading the book when I remembered it.
Maybe.
Because then I would have talked about more of the internal monologue stuff that it sounds like you missed. Because that's part of really what makes it. But I can't remember any of it.
I'll be nice. Anyway, so...
You'll be nice?
I wanted to talk about the ending specifically on its own, because I think they deviate a little bit, don't they?
This is you being nice?
Yes.
No, what were you going to say? Say it.
Your memory's fading?
I know, because somebody stopped getting the ginkgo vitamins.
I don't know, I can tell a difference with myself.
I can tell a difference now.
Are you even going to be able to talk about the ending?
Yeah, I remember the ending.
Despite that face that you made that nobody else can see. Let's see here. Because I think the breakdown of Norman's character is where it really differs quite a bit. Because didn't you say something about how he was always dressed as a female? Or am I thinking of somebody else's conversation?
You might be thinking of somebody else's conversation. Because he does dress in his mother's clothes at the end.
Mm-hmm.
He also put the dress on when he went to do his... No, he did put the dress on to go do his murders because...
He assumed the mother character.
Because he found the blood-covered clothes.
Oh, I thought you said there was a little bit more to it. So maybe there isn't a conversation to have here. Not one that I'm willing to have on this aspect of the podcast. I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do in lieu of Ryan being on hiatus. It's difficult. Alright, so... changed our mind. I'm not going to talk about the ending. Because somebody doesn't remember it well enough.
Yeah, you this time.
I remember the ending perfectly fine. I just watched the movie last night.
But you don't remember what you wanted to say. Which is the important thing. We got to go back to the ginkgo.
I guess. You can get that way to the store tomorrow, if you remember. And I was going to talk about the sequel novel and movie. I am going to summarize what my thoughts were, that I think the sequel movie does it a little bit better because it continues the exploration of Norman's character, and it humanizes him in a very, I don't necessarily want to say realistic way, but it makes you feel for his character in that he comes out reformed and is trying to be a better person, but nobody around him wants him to be better. They still think of him as who he was before, and they don't give him that chance.
I mean, I kind of felt for him in this book anyway. I mean, he's a victim of his circumstances.
He is. And that trend continues in the second movie. Whereas the book, Block was so upset with Hollywood making the sequel and not working with him properly or whatever. I forget what all the details are on it. That he just made this convoluted mess that on its own is probably a pretty decent story. And I'm going to say, knowing this and some of the connections to Psycho with the Halloween series and everything, I can understand a little bit maybe where some inspiration came from for Halloween 2018. Just as a little aside. But like I was saying though, nobody's allowing Norman to be the new Norman. They're treating him like he's the old Norman, calling him psycho all the time and wacko and pushing him to his limits and just treating him very poorly. Kind of like Strangeland with D. Snyder.
If you say so.
I do say so. So, yeah, I haven't read the second novel, obviously, also.
I haven't read the first one either.
It does... I don't know, it's just more compelling to me because I like the character study of Norman through this medium. And that's all I have to say on that.
Anyway.
Unless you keep me going.
No. Thanks for listening to us yell at our cat and make a grocery list.
On the YouTube side, if you're listening to this and make it this far, let us know what you think about the character of Norman and how you feel about him. If he's a sympathetic character or if he's just a monster.
Just a
Thunderdome. And Thunderdome in the discussion section. I forgot up top too. I do have a Twitter. It's just for channel updates and news to keep people informed. I'm gonna try to start putting a schedule up there, which should already be going by the time this comes out. We'll see.
Is that a dead cricket?
No.
Okay.
Not at all. Thanks for listening. Catch you guys on the flip side.
Dumb.
Because I've decided to do that.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yep.